What's poppin', Cowabunga crew? It's me, MT, and welcome back to the Heavy Spoiler Show, y'all. This is about to be a breakdown for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 from 1993, the one where our favorite radical reptiles travel back in time to feudal Japan to kick ass in a very parentally approved manner. So let's make like a turtle and get the shell into this dang thing, shall we? Now, notice how I call this movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 and not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 Turtles in Time like it's more popularly called. That's because this movie was never produced with the Turtles in Time subtitle at all. Fans would just call it Turtles in Time because there was a Ninja Turtles arcade game released in 1991 called TMNT Turtles in Time that would later be adapted into a Super Nintendo video game in 1992 called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 Turtles in Time. So, because this movie also incorporated time travel elements like the popular video game that released the year prior, the Turtles in Time subtitle was thrown onto there by Cowabunga crazed individuals. But anyways, the movie starts with a scene from a feudal Japan in the year 1603, around the same time period that FX's Shogun series takes place. And if you want a breakdown of season 1 of that series, look no further than the Heavy Spoilers YouTube channel because we broke that down a little while back. You can check it out after you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. 4 men in green and red samurai garb chase after a man named Kenshin in the forest before apprehending him, all while a mysterious woman watches from a distance. The clothing of these 4 red and green clad samurai are supposed to tease the coming of the 4 time-traveling turtles later on in the movie, as the Green Ninja Turtles originally all wore red bandanas when they first made their comic book appearance in 1984's TMNT number 1. The turtles would not be given their own unique colors until the animated series debuted 3 years later in 1987, because up until then, Turtles creators Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird felt like the Turtles' weapons and names were enough to identify them from one another. But since the cartoon was purposely aimed at a younger audience, making it easier to tell the Turtles apart was an absolute must. So the creators gave Leonardo, Michaelangelo, and Donatello their own unique colors, while having Raphael keep the red bandana and the rough and tough attitude that came with the original comic book Turtles team. But anyways, after Kenshin is kidnapped, we are immediately brought to the present day, where the Turtles are having themselves a fun time listening to ZZ Top's Can't Stop Rockin' inside of their abandoned subway station of a home that they found in the last Ninja Turtles movie. And pretty much right away, one can tell that there is something super different about this turtle family this time around. And that's mostly because Jim Henson's Creature Shop was not involved with the production at all like they were with the first 2 Turtles films. Production company Golden Harvest were apparently super frustrated with the glitchiness of the turtle suit technology that Henson's Creature Shop made for the first 2 movies, and how those glitches slowed down production that they decided to go with the All Effects company instead, as they promised that they could recreate Henson's magic for much cheaper. And as a consequence, many of the performers from the first 2 movies were replaced. For example, Kevin Clash, famous for being the puppeteer for Elmo on Sesame Street from 1985 to 2012, was Splinter's voice actor and puppeteer for the first 2 Turtles films until he was replaced by James Murray in this movie. Also, the in-suit actors for Raphael, Donatello, and Mikey were replaced as well, with Matt Hill replacing Ken Traum as Raph, Jim Raposa replacing Leif Tilden as Donnie, and David Frazier replacing Michelle Sisti as Mikey. And in terms of voice actors, Tim Kelleher replaces actor Laurie Faso as the voice of Raphael in this movie, continuing the trend of Raphael voice actors getting replaced for every film of this trilogy. Actor Corey Feldman makes their return as the voice of Donatello after being recast in the second movie due to him being in rehab for drug and alcohol addiction. Golden Harvest felt like Feldman's trip to rehab was far too controversial for him to be involved with a kids movie, so they replaced him with voice actor Adam Carl for Secret of the Ooze. However, Golden Harvest would later express remorse over their decision to bench Feldman, that they invited him back for the worst Turtles movie of the trilogy. What swell fellas! But of course, reprising her role as April O'Neil is actress Paige Turco, who replaced Judith Hoag for Secret of the Ooze, and she's sporting a brand new haircut as she brings gifts for the Turtles from the world above. And while an impatient Mikey digs through April's bags, he tells her that he's spelunking for pork rinds, a throwback to the first Turtles film when we see Mikey eating pork rinds with his brothers.
Pork rind? War crime.
April then pulls out a fedora that she got for Raphael at the flea market, a reference to Raphael's trench coat of a disguise that he wore when she first met him on the subway in the first Turtles movie. And when she puts the hat on herself, Donatello calls her a smooth criminal like Michael Jackson, who famously wore a hat similar to that in the Smooth Criminal music video. Mikey randomly receives a flower-themed lampshade, which he puts on his head and compares himself to Elvis Presley in the 1961 film Blue Hawaii. And after handing out gifts to the kids, April pulls out a strange Japanese staff that she got for Splinter before the movie transitions us back to the past to Norinaga's castle. There, Kenshin is revealed to be the rebellious son of Lord Norinaga himself, a son who greatly disapproves of his father's war in the region. And before his father could correct him for his insolence, in comes that British bastard of an arms dealer, Walker, played by actor Stuart Wilson, who played Dr. Robin Hatcher in 2007's Hot Fuzz, and Don Rafael Montero in 1998's The Mask of Zorro. Ironically, later on in the movie, the Turtles would call Walker that Zorro dude years before Stuart Wilson actually starred in The Mask of Zorro, which is kind of wild.
Hold it right there, Zorro dude!
And at Walker's arrival, Lord Norinaga sends his son inside the castle, where Kenshin would throw a tantrum and knock over a statue containing the time scepter inside. The very same scepter that April bought at the flea market in the future. And with the both of them touching the scepter at two different points in time, some magic mumbo-jumbo happens that causes the two of them to switch places in space-time, causing April to appear in the 1600s in Kenshin's clothes, and Kenshin to appear in the 1990s in April's clothes. The concept of the time scepter has been around in Ninja Turtles continuity ever since it first appeared in the 8th issue of the very first volume back in July 1986, and it's an object that often accompanies the character Renee ever since she acquired it at the start of that issue. Kenshin faints at the sight of seeing the Turtle family, a running gag in the Ninja Turtles media ever since the second issue of the original comic book series, which saw April O'Neil faint at the sight of the Turtles when she first met them for the first time. Judith Hoag's April O'Neil did that in the 1990s Turtles movie, then we saw Kino do it in Secret of the Ooze, and now it's Kenshin's turn in this third movie. And after talking to Kenshin for a bit, the Turtle fam quickly deduce that Kenshin is from 1600s feudal Japan, and since the time scepter itself made it happen, that they would have to use that scepter to go back in time and save their hot friend. But over in the past, discovering April in Kenshin's place, April is then brought to Lord Norinaga himself. When she's forced to bow down before him, her cassette player turns on and starts blasting Conga by the Barrio Boys, a band that April would tell Lord Norinaga and Walker that she shrunk down with her witch powers when Norinaga accuses her of being some type of sorceress. Norinaga, angry at the loss of his son, then demands that April suffer for his disappearance. Back in the present, Donnie uses his oddly advanced garbage sewer computer to analyze the time scepter, coming to the conclusion that the staff operates on the equal distribution of mass, causing two people of the same weight to switch places in space-time. And since Kenshin apparently weighed as much as a white woman from New York City, this malnourished man got to switch places with April. But who better to bring this skinny-ass Kenshin to the gym than the GOAT himself, Casey Jones, as Elias Koteas finally reprises his role as the character since he first appeared in the first 1990 movie. Due to parents complaining about Casey Jones being too dark, scary, and reminiscent of the hockey mask-wearing Jason from the Friday the 13th series, Casey Jones was benched for Secret of the Ooze and replaced with Kino the Pizza Boy. But due to high audience demand, Casey Jones returns right on time to star in the worst Turtles film of the trilogy, a movie that did so bad that it would cancel Golden Harvest's plans for a fourth movie called TMNT 4, The Next Mutation. Now, if you grew up in the 1990s like I did, then you probably recognize the Next Mutation subtitle, as it was attached to a very short-lived live-action Ninja Turtles TV show produced by Saban Entertainment. You know, the same company that produced the Power Rangers TV show. That's why we got the absolutely amazing Ninja Turtles crossover episode with the Power Rangers in space that one time. And it was the first Turtles adaptation to introduce a fifth female Ninja Turtle, one with a light blue headband named Venus de Milo. But anyways, before that TV show was even a thing, Golden Harvest planned on using the Next Mutation subtitle for their fourth movie, which would have seen the Ninja Turtles discover that their biology was not finished mutating. For example, Raph would have mutated into a bigger, more ferocious looking turtle, Donnie would have become a telepath like Professor X, Mikey would have morphed into a human, while Leah would have developed tough silver skin. A fifth Ninja Turtle named Kirby was also planned to be introduced in that movie as well, named after renowned comic book legend Jack Kirby. But yeah, since this third movie did so damn terribly, TMNT 4 was cancelled and turned into that TV show instead, with the Kirby concept ultimately morphing into Venus. However, if you would have asked Ninja Turtles creators Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman about their opinion on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, they would tell you that they liked it much better than the movie's prequel, Secret of Views. Kevin Eastman would go on to call movie 1 the best, movie 2 the worst, and movie 3 halfway in between. Not sure why they felt that way, but hey, it's a free country. But anyways, yeah, because parents don't trust Casey Jones not to scare their kids, Casey Jones' role in this movie has been reduced to being a glorified babysitter as the Turtles tell him to watch over Kenshin as they travel to the past. But speaking of the past, April is locked up in a wooden cage trying to offer her fancy Rolex watch to the guard watching her, but she is quickly ignored. However, she does note in the cage next to her is none other than Casey Jones himself. Well, sort of. This is a completely different guy played by Elias Koteas called Wit, a mercenary who attempted a mutiny against Walker but ultimately failed. And although Wit of course looks exactly like Casey Jones, it's never established in this movie whether or not Wit is actually a distant ancestor of the sports-themed vigilante, though the implication seems to be quite strong. Back in the present, the Turtles use the Time Scepter to travel to the past, and when they do, Mikey yells out, "Make sure your tables are in the upright position," pretending to be a stewardess on a plane. And they switch spaces in space-time with Norinaga's honor guard as they are teleported to the middle of one of Norinaga's battles. And the horse that Mikey is teleported on begins to lose control, causing Mikey to go on a wild ride that he compares to an episode of the American Western TV series Bonanza that ran from 1959 to 1973. Mikey is then diabolically bonked on the head by the mysterious woman from earlier named Mitsu, and she and her band of rebels end up taking Mikey captive. And after they do, we switch back to 1990s New York City, where the Twin Towers can be seen in the skyline, and Casey Jones and Kenshin are about to beat the hell out of Norinaga's honor guard, but are ultimately stopped by Splinter. And in the past, Leo, Raph, and Donnie accompany Norinaga's men back to his castle disguised as his honor guard, and hide underneath the carriage when Lord Norinaga himself summons them as a show of strength to Walker. And as the Turtles sneak through Norinaga's castle, Donnie jokes that he's seen this castle on Lifestyles of the Rich and Dangerous, a reference to the popular TV show Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, which ran from 1984 to 1995. Niles, Walker's right-hand man that he loves to abuse, runs into Raphael, who he calls an ugly lump of dung. Ye old PG way of calling someone a piece of shit, which is a wild thing to say to a total stranger. But in defense of his brother, Donnie would call Niles the salty sailor Popeye in return, referring to the popular Popeye comic strips and cartoons. The Turtles then follow Niles and his dirty-ass friends to Norinaga's prison and call them the Three Stooges before giving Niles a wet willy. The Turtles then free April before being forced to fight some of Norinaga's men. April in turn frees Wit, and the group all escape through a garbage disposal chute, with Raphael quoting Terminator 1 Arnold Schwarzenegger by saying, "I'll be back before he does."
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
And as the Turtles struggle to get up after falling in the mud, Donatello falls onto his shell and yells, "Help! I'm a turtle and I can't get up," referring to the old Life Call TV commercials that ran in the 80s and 90s.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
April, Wit, and the Turtles then make their way close to Mitsu's camp, where they are attacked by Mitsu's band of rebels. And as the Turtles fight them, Donatello pretends to play baseball with one of his opponents, much like Raphael did with Casey Jones in the first Ninja Turtles movie. And shortly after this, Donatello would yell "Hammer Time" as a shout out to rapper MC Hammer's 1990 hit "You Can't Touch This." MC Hammer also provided music for the first Ninja Turtles movie in the form of his song "This Is What We Do." But when the Turtles unmask themselves to reveal their big, green, ugly faces, Mitsu realizes that she's not fighting Norinaga's actual honor guard, but more freakishly big-ass turtles like the one that she found in the forest. But speaking of Mitsu, played by actress Vivian Wu, her character was apparently supposed to appear in the 1993 Super Nintendo video game TMNT Tournament Fighters. However, it's believed that because this movie performed so badly, the developers changed her character completely into a new character named Asuka. However, Mitsu's name can still be found buried in the game's source code. But anyways, because Lord Norinaga refuses to do trade with Walker and his men until his precious Time Scepter is found, Walker sends his men into Mitsu's village to find it, attacking the villagers in the process. Mikey wakes up and proceeds to fight off the attackers, who view him as some sort of green demon from Turtle Hell. And when Walker goes to face Mikey and blow his head off with his gun, Mikey jokingly mistakes him for famous American Western actor Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood?
But luckily, Mikey is saved by his brothers in the nick of time, and they all scare Walker and his crew away. But not before Walker the asshole starts a house fire that threatens the life of a young boy named Yoshi, coincidentally the same name of Master Splinter's human master who taught that rat all of his combat techniques in this universe. Risking his own life, Mikey jumps into that fire to save Yoshi, telling Kurt Russell to eat his heart out when he emerges from the fire unscathed. This is of course a reference to Kurt Russell's 1991 movie Backdraft, directed by Ron Howard. Leo then puts his nasty-ass sewer turtle mouth on Yoshi's to do some life-saving CPR, gaining the turtles the respect of Mitsu's village. And as they settle in, Mikey and Donnie then try their hand at horseback riding, with Donnie calling his horse Silver before he falls off, a reference to the Lone Ranger's horse Silver. The turtles, with no other plan, attempt to recreate the time scepter using a local blacksmith, while Casey and Splinter in the 90s attempt to keep Kenshin and Norinaga's honor guard from attempting to leave, with Casey throwing on a New York Rangers hockey game on TV to grab their attention. And in the past, Mikey attempts to teach one of Mitsu's villagers how to make a pizza in 30 minutes or less, a throwback to the first Turtles movie when Mikey orders a pizza and counts down the seconds before the delivery man arrives. Because wise men say, forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza. Meanwhile, Raphael, watching a group of kids play a violent game with sticks, compares their playing to the wild and controversial Geraldo Rivera Show, a Jerry Springer-esque talk show that ran from 1987 to 1998. And a little later, Mikey would interrupt Mitsu while she prays for Kenshin's protection under a Japanese torii gate, a sacred doorway that is thought to connect reality with the spirit realm. I talk all about torii gateways in my breakdown of Spirited Away that you guys can check out on Heavy Spoilers here. And to ease her worry, Mikey reassures her that Kenshin should return when the turtles travel back to the future, asking her to trust his Kappa intuition. The Japanese people of this era refer to the turtles as Kappa throughout this movie because in Japanese mythology, Kappa were thought to be supernatural turtle spirits. Back in the present, Kenshin looks at a Uptown Ballroom Academy poster of a man and a woman romantically dancing, a poster that would motivate Kenshin to embrace Mitsu in the same way when they are reunited at the end of the movie. Kenshin would later play the Japanese game Go with Master Splinter when Splinter has a supernatural inkling that his sons are in trouble in the past, right as Walker finalizes his deal with Norinaga to provide him and his army with guns in exchange for gold. With their fake replacement time scepter now complete, Mikey starts to get cold feet and wonders if they'll all end up in prehistoric Japan, an era that he refers to as Godzilla Land, shouting out the iconic fictional Japanese kaiju. In the Turtles in Time video game, the Ninja Turtles actually do end up fighting dinosaurs in prehistoric times. But because Mikey and Raph are stupid as hell, they end up breaking the replacement scepter, leaving them all to be shit out of luck. Until the very next scene where that little boy Yoshi reveals that he was hiding the time scepter from the turtles the entire time. However, just when things are starting to go their way, Mitsu is kidnapped by a wit looking to become equal partners with Walker, and steals the scepter too for good measure, forcing April and the turtles to infiltrate Norinaga's castle to retrieve them both. After traveling up a nasty-ass sewage drain, the turtles rescue Mitsu before discovering a scroll that tells the tale of how 4 turtle demons beat Norinaga's ancestor and army at the Battle of the Thousand Swords, a battle that the turtles recreate in their own right when Norinaga and his army discover them immediately after this. But before their fight, Donnie refers to Norinaga as singer-actor Wayne Newton before jokingly asking if Norinaga was expecting the Addams family instead of the turtles. Then the turtles kick the asses of all of Norinaga's men before heading outside and setting Mitsu's people free from Norinaga's dungeon. Leonardo then faces off against Norinaga himself, fighting against real Japanese swords instead of just reading about them from that Japanese sword book that April O'Neil got him at the start of the movie. But Leonardo's ninja skills would prove too much for the old man, and Leo would trap Norinaga under a Japanese bancho belt. However, Walker would try to turn things around by holding April O'Neil at gunpoint, leading Raph to calling Walker the Phantom of the Opera, referring to the classic novel and musical. Leonardo then tries to use psychological warfare to get Walker to back off, quoting Clint Eastwood's 1983 Sudden Impact movie when he says, "Go ahead, punk, make my day."
Okay, go ahead, punk. Make my day.
Go ahead. Make my day.
However, Walker calls the bluff and rounds the turtle team up to attempt to blow them all up with the cannon. But Leonardo ducks into his shell to dodge the cannon fire, causing the bell behind him to explode instead, revealing an exploded but still alive Noranaga inside, a crazy-haired sight that Donnie compares to legendary boxing promoter Don King. But instead of shooting the turtles with all their guns, Walker and his gang decide to flee the turtles instead, which makes zero sense, leading to Walker getting cornered at the edge of a cliff. With nowhere to go, Walker then throws the time scepter away from himself so he can make a swift getaway with his birds, but ends up falling to oblivion when Wit decides to cut his rope. The second time, actor Elias Koteas would foil the plans of a Ninja Turtles villain on the big screen, after Casey Jones would crush the Shredder in a garbage truck at the end of the first movie. And also check out the way that Walker dies in this movie. Like, he straight up just disappears out of the frame when he falls into the water. Like, he doesn't even hit the water. He just disappears. That shit's kind of wild. After Casey rounds up the rest of the honor guard after they dance to Tarzan Boy by Baltimora at a local bar, they're switched out with the returning Ninja Turtles along with Kenshin, allowing Mitsu and Kenshin to be together once again. And I'm not sure why Mitsu decided to give the time scepter back to a defeated Noranaga, because time travel in the wrong hands isn't the best idea, and Noranaga has proven to be quite irresponsible. But with the day saved, the Turtles end the movie by dancing to Rockin' Over the Beat by Technotronic, and everyone lived happily ever after. Well, everybody except the audience, who never got another live-action Ninja Turtles movie again until Michael Bay decided to give us overgrown monstrosities in 2014. The end. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this breakdown of the third Ninja Turtles movie from 1993. What do you guys think about this movie? Let us know in the comment section down below. You guys can follow me at Mastertainment on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, wherever I am on the internet. But most importantly, follow Heavy Spoilers here on YouTube by hitting that subscribe button and maybe even hitting that like button if you guys enjoyed the video. But like always, I have been MT, you guys have been amazing, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.